can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet.
Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers.
I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
How are we doing out there tonight all across this great land of ours and around the world? It's that time. It's time for the Conservative Syndicate coming to you live right now, and we're glad to have you with us. We have, I think, one of these shows just every now and then all the pieces flow together. They fall together in the proper order at the proper time, and we're going to do something I think that nobody else is doing out there at this point in time. We're looking a little bit beyond 2016 and who's going to be sitting in the White House. I've had this itch in me for a couple of weeks now about the words keep coming up in my mind. Keep everything in the big picture, the big picture. And I know I've been harping on some things, I've given Barack Obama perhaps more relevance than I think a lot of people think he deserves at this juncture in his life. But I just had this thing, and pieces have fallen together in the last week that I think you're going to walk away or leave the show tonight just either understanding a few things or having a whole lot of questions. And both of these things are good. Questions mean you have to look for answers. And if you have the answers, that means it confirms what you probably knew in your gut to begin with. So that's what we're going to do tonight. I am your host, John Matthews, mad prophet of the airways, along with my co-host, Joe, You Can't Handle the Truth, Hakos from Dryer Report. How are you doing tonight, Joe?
Well, we're going to bust this little acorn nut open today, John. Once again, it's already been done before, but we might as well do it again.
Yeah, we got a bang-up show for you tonight. We're going to have a gentleman named Mike Volpe. He is an activist, an author, and he's going to be coming on right after our first break here. And he's going to be talking about somebody that most of you may have forgotten and some of you may have never even heard of, but very important in the Obama makeup. Obama was mentored by some of the best community organizers around. And if you'll remember, there was a gentleman back in 2009 that surfaced named Wade Rathke. He was the creator of Acorn, and I know most of you have probably heard of Acorn. Acorn closed their doors in 2010 after bankruptcy and embezzlement, corruption charges, the whole 9 yards. But Wade Rathke has resurfaced with Acorn International. And Mike Volpe wrote a really, I think, informative article. We're going to have him on tonight to talk about international community organizing, and I think that's the reason I keep that in the big picture, because that's Obama's next job, and he's going to do it by seeking world dominance as head of the UN. That's my theory, and I think I'm not far from the truth. So we're going to talk about that tonight. We're also going to talk about Hillary Clinton's ever-growing email scandal. It looks like this time there just may be something that has to be done. Don't know how it's going to play out, but we're going to talk about that also. And, of course, along with that, her campaign, outside of the email scandals, there's some disrupting news in the Clinton camp, and then Bernie Sanders has caught up with her in the polls. Boy, and fundraising, too. He's raising just about as much money as she is. So this is going to be real interesting over the next couple of months. So that's kind of what we got lined up for you. But I want to spend a few moments, if I can tonight, talking about something. I wasn't going to wade into this because when we get into these arguments and discussions about natural-born citizenship and everything else, in my opinion, Barack Obama rendered all those arguments moot. There should have not have been a clear case of somebody who was not qualified to run for president based on his birth. But they were able to stall. They were able to come up and produce a photoshopped birth certificate that everybody seems to think is authentic, and it's been proven time and time again it wasn't. But, the point is he got away with it. We shouldn't even be having these discussions. But it is resurfacing, and some of it has to do with Donald Trump. Some of it has to do with stuff that's been lingering out there since 2008 anyway. And I found an article here in the Washington Post by Mary Brigid McMahon. She is a constitutional law professor at Widener University's Delaware Law School. And her argument is that Ted Cruz is not eligible to run for president simply because he was not born in the United States. Now, her argument is, his mother was a United States citizen, but he was not born in the United States. And her argument is based on what they refer to as common law. And her argument is she goes back to James Madison, who is known as the father of the Constitution. And he states, James Madison stated, it is an established maxim that birth is a criterion of allegiance, and the place of birth is the most certain criteria. And now, so if you are born in the United States, you're a natural born citizen. Doesn't have anything to do with allegiance and everything else that everybody's trying to argue. But here's what I got. Here's the argument I come up with. If her argument is true, then John McCain should have never run for president. Both his parents are natural born U.S. citizens, but he was born in Panama. So that argument, that was an argument that was floated back in 2008, but it was quickly quenched because he was a war hero. We have the situation with Barack Obama's mother was an American citizen, but his father was not. And that even shows on the birth certificate that was photoshopped, that his father was not a U.S. citizen, wasn't even a naturalized U.S. citizen. He was listed as a Kenyan citizen. So the idea here being that natural law, where you were born is based on the naturalization, or the natural born concept is based on where you were actually physically, geographically born. But the argument it was made in Barack Obama's case and in some of the other cases of, the crossfire here is what? Citizenship by the parents, where the parents, one or more of the parents, U.S. citizens. Here's my thought. If we're going to go with the natural born concept of common law as quoted by English criteria, the empire, the King of England and England as an empire, then what has to be figured in here is the bloodline. And the bloodline in English common law traces to the father. The father carries the bloodline. Therefore, if we're going to argue this common law thing, we have to argue it not only from geographical and allegiance to whatever country you're in, but you've got to trace the bloodline. So what does that do? That renders Barack Obama as a non-citizen because his father's bloodline was not American. He's Kenyan. So if we're going to sit here and just twist these things every time we need to fit an argument, let's take it all the way. Let's just say it's a natural thing, okay? If Ted Cruz's father, his bloodline renders him as a non-citizen, so be it. But that would also be the same case in Barack Obama, in which case what do we have to do? We have to null and void everything Barack Obama has done for the past 8 years. And not that you're going to do that, not that it's even possible, not that it's even practical. But the point being is these arguments are just political in their intent and in their design. Who cares at this point? It doesn't matter. Barack Obama rendered it moot. And if we're going to argue common law, English common law, as a basis, which to me doesn't even make sense because we pulled away from England, so I don't know why we're basing things on English law other than the time and place of that, that time period, how they looked at things. The bloodline was everything, and the bloodline was traced to the male. I'm just making that point. So I just wanted to throw that out. That's my argument as to why Ted Cruz is qualified for president. Because if you're going to go all the way back, let's go all the way. And while we're at it, let's get over this all this other garbage that's going out there about where people are born geographically. It has nothing to do with anything. It has to do where your heritage originates from. And if your heritage originates from America, then you are an American if you're born out of the country, as long as your parents, one or more of your parents are natural-born citizens. I hope that makes sense, but that's my argument. I just wanted to pitch that out there. We got to go to our first break. We'll be right back. We should have Mike Volpe checking in with us soon. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by CitizensUnited.org.
And we're back, and you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, and we're glad you took the time to join us. Want to remind everybody, if you're in our chat room, you can go to our chat room at theconservativesyndicate.net, and if you're sitting out there in the chat room right now, just understand we're not ignoring you. Just running the show and chatting is not, it's kind of like scratching your head and chewing gum with me. I can't do both at the same time, but I do watch what's going on, and once I pick up what you're saying, I probably will respond on air rather than spend my time typing. So just be patient. We got a lot going on today, and so just, we're aware you're there, okay? Having said that, I've got with us right now a special guest, author Michael Volpe. Am I pronouncing that right, Mike?
You are. Do you hear me okay?
Okay, that's outstanding. Now, Michael is a freelance investigative journalist. He started, I guess, after spending a few years in finance. You and I actually have some common ground there. I spent most of my life in finance as an auditor. And but Michael has worked with the Chicago Reader, Chicago Crusader, Chicago Heights Patch. So I assume you're out in Chicago.
I'm in Chicago, that's correct.
Okay.
And with a bunch of national places as well.
Okay. And he's appeared in a lot of national publications, Washington Examiner, Daily Caller, Crime Magazine, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference newsletter, and Counterpunch. But what drew my attention to Michael, those of you who listen to us on a regular basis, last week we had Donald Dix from Act for America doing his weekly segment with us. And he mentioned, Michael, an article that Michael had written a couple years ago called Acorn International, Wade Rathke Shakes Down the Whole World. And it fell right into the context of the conversation we've been having on this show now for the better part of 2 weeks, that Obama's aspirations after the White House is world domination, that he plans on taking up residence in the UN. And I got into this idea, or the thought was floated out there about combining what he's doing with what he does already, and that's community organizing. And boy, all the pieces fit. I said, we got to get Mike on. So we're glad you took the time to join us. Oh, I also wanted to, we'll talk about the book later. He's written a book. We'll plug that a little bit later. So glad you took the time to join us tonight, Mike.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, now we have I have a couple of things that I wanted to just, kind of ask you about this article. And I'm assuming that since you wrote this article, I think this was written actually back in 2013, that you're still following along with what these guys are doing out there.
I follow along with Wade. We're actually Facebook friends, though I have a lot of Facebook friends. I've interviewed Wade more than anyone with any fame. So by the time I'd written the article, I'd probably interviewed him 5 or 6 times. And he's really effective at what he does. So the organization continues to grow. He continues to add countries. Acorn International is basically country by country. And, whether he says it or wants, he's very coy about his goals, but his goal is to put an acorn into every country and organize effectively the entire world. I don't know if he'll ever get every single country, but I think he was 13 at the time that I wrote it. He's added a few since then, and the organization continues to grow. And, community organizing is like sales. It's a numbers game. So if you can, he started up in Boston, but, he started Acorn in Arkansas. If you can organize Arkansas, that's good. You can organize a couple of states, that's better. You can organize the U.S., that's even better. But if you can organize the entire world, well, there's nothing bigger than that. And that's, whether he admits, and I don't know why he wouldn't admit it, his goal is to organize as many people as possible. And so this was a natural extension, probably something that he thought of way back in the 60s. And it should be noted that he created Acorn International, and it's a separate entity from what was Acorn before the breakup of Acorn. So this was not something like he wanted to do this because Acorn was breaking up. He wanted to do this because this was a part of a larger strategy that he probably dreamed up long ago. So this was separate of Acorn breaking up. This was something he was already doing. And the reason they couldn't take this from him was because it was a separate entity. So when they kicked him out of Acorn, even though the names are basically identical, this was a separate entity, so they couldn't take it away from him. And once Acorn was taken from him, He just focused on Acorn International. And, look, he's in a sense a big shot. He travels the entire world, goes from Africa one week to Canada the next week. He's back in meetings in New Orleans, back in another country the following week, and that's what he does.
Yeah, I know as I was reading your article, I just had flashbacks of one of the very first books I read on Obama when he surfaced in 2008 as an actual presidential candidate. It was a book called Radical in Chief, written by Stanley Kubrick. And in there, he really traces the ties between Barack Obama and Wade Rathke. And I guess it'd be, I think, safe to say that Wade Rathke is one of those guys that would be on the mentor list when it comes to Barack Obama, the perfect model of the Saul Alinsky model of how to use community organizing to shake people down and promote agendas. And so it just makes sense to me that an Acorn International organization would be something that Barack Obama would want to hitch his wagons to if he hasn't already. Joe and I were discussing before the show, he's probably got some ties to him still, even at the international organization. Would you be able to verify that at all?
Actually, Wade downplays how much he knows Obama. He's known Clinton a lot longer than he's known Obama, and their ties, and he does not hide that, but really promotes that. He really knows Clinton a lot more than he knows Obama. They ran in the same circles, but I don't know as far as like personal relationships how well they know each other. However, the type of organizing that Obama did was, I don't know if mentor is the right word, but it was in the same style as Rathke. But Rathke's known Clinton since the early 70s, and he always tells me this story about when Clinton won in 96. There's a big photo, and I can't remember the guy's name, but one of Wade's top lieutenants basically giving Clinton a bear hug as Clinton had won. So I think actually the personal ties between him and Clinton are much stronger than him and Obama. But as far as the type of organizing that Obama does, it's in the same style.
Okay.
So certainly the same style. I don't know that they've got each other on speed dial. I bet Wade's got Bill Clinton on speed dial, though.
Oh, okay. Now you also mentioned that Rathke started this organization back in the 60s. This would have been in the same time frame as Bill Ayers and the Weather Underground and the Black Panther Party and stuff.
There again, he said, I barely knew those people. If you want to choose to believe him, he says, he and George Soros, there's a lot of connections. He says that he and George Soros are on the same board at the Tides Foundation. What that means is they meet each other for a weekend every 3 months, and he may or may not see him that weekend. So I asked him about Bill Ayers. He said, I may have met him once or twice during the 60s. And there's no, Wade, like the thing that he does effectively is if he targets you, and I had a really good anecdote where they targeted the guy from the Carlyle group. But basically, if they target you, he'll organize 200-300 people, and they'll be outside your house yelling and screaming, and that's not quite the same thing as setting bombs. So they were using completely different tools. There's no evidence that Wade uses violence. It's a little bit different. Right. So I don't know that he even really knows Ayers. And he says he doesn't really know George Soros. He doesn't even know where the idea came from that they're buddy-buddy. Okay, now in terms of all this, when we talk about in your interviews with Rathke, how strongly was he influenced by Saul Alinsky himself? I wouldn't say in his interviews the people that know him well, here's what they say. He's so brilliant at what he does. He's not influenced by anyone but Wade Rathke. He's transformed organizing into its own unique self. But he did say that he met Saul Alinsky. Saul Alinsky is basically the original organizer, and he definitely looked to him as a sort of mentor. But the people that know him well, they basically say that he's working on his own unique platform and no one really influences him because he does it in a way that no one else can understand. So he was more influenced by Wiley because Wiley really gave him his start than Alinsky. But he basically says, like all organizers, we view Saul Alinsky as an important person, as an innovator. So in that respect, he certainly sees him as an innovator. But I don't know that anyone influenced Wade Rathke. Wade Rathke is so unique that he influences himself.
So could we speculate and say that perhaps his association with Bill Clinton? I was reading in your article here that Rathke began as working for the Students for Democratic Society in Arkansas, where he met George Wiley, who introduced him to Clinton. Am I correct there?
No, Wiley had him organize like welfare recipients in Massachusetts. That went well. He went down to Arkansas, and he met Clinton, who was working for the McGovern campaign. He met Clinton on his own. So that's like 1971, I think. So that's how long they've known each other. They were both down in Arkansas together. Wiley gave him his start, but no, he met Clinton on his own, and I don't know if friendship is the right word, but certainly association between the two of them has, for, I don't know, however, 71 to 2016, 45 years they've known each other. And so again, it doesn't mean that they go have a beer every weekend, but they are not just associated. I mean, they know each other really well.
Right. Okay. So in light of that, and the fact that we're sitting here now at a juncture with Hillary Clinton getting ready or trying to run for the Democratic nomination for president, the FBI is out there telling us right now that they've expanded the investigation. This email thing, they're beginning to believe that there's ties between her time as Secretary of State and her influence in regard to fundraising with the Clinton Foundation. And I wanted to ask you before we go to the break here, because I think I'll have time to answer the question here. Anything that the Clinton Foundation is doing, would that be modeled after something that Rathke does now?
It might be, though. Again, the people who are close to him. And when I say the people who are close to him, I talk not as much recently, but I've talked a lot with a woman named Marcel Reed, with a guy named Michael McRae, who were both on the Acorn board. And Marcel was actually the one who first started to discover all of these what are called affiliates, like Acorn Housing and all of these. She was the one who discovered them, and Michael McRae backed her up. Karen Inman is another one. They say he's so unique, you can't, it's like modeling yourself after Albert Einstein. How do you model yourself? You don't understand what he's doing, and he doesn't really reveal how he does it. So, yeah, they could certainly try to mimic what he does, but I don't know that anyone can be as effective as that guy. So maybe in terms of the shadiness, they can model themselves. In terms of trying to organize, he really is a unique guy, and I say it at the end of the profile. Guys like you and me, we look at his ideology. What really makes him effective, and I've met thousands of people. No one is as charming as this guy. You talk to him, and it's almost impossible to dislike him. I'm like, hey, Wade, what's going on? Every day's an adventure. That's his tagline. And he disarms you. He's very easygoing, and it's very difficult to dislike the guy. When you're organizing, you're meeting people, and it's basically salesmanship, and that's what makes him effective. And, I think Bill Clinton has that, but I don't know that you can model that, because I don't think charm is teachable.
Yeah, well, we certainly can say that about our current president. I mean, nobody would have gotten away with some of the things he's gotten away with if it wasn't for his ability to kind of lull people into this sense of, everything's cool, man. I got my mojo together. We're cruising. We're doing fine.
Right, and that's basically how Wade does it. He disarms you. He's very charming. And look, if you ever talk to the guy, it's very, very hard to dislike him once you talk to him. He's very disarming. Look, I don't think that Bill Clinton needs to be taught that himself. He's as charming as they come as well. Yeah. The structure is not really what makes him effective. What makes him effective is that he can speak to people and get them to like him, and that brings them along. And that's, the leaders are like that. And certainly if you're trying to organize, you're trying to bring people into a movement, you have to have that. And so trying to mimic that, look, if you could mimic charm like that, then we'd all be great.
Okay. All right, we got to take a break here. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion here with Mike Volpe, author of the article Wade Rathke, Now Shaking Down the Whole World. Stay with us right here at Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, Mad Prophet of the Airways, along with my co-host, Joe, You Can't Handle the Truth, Hakos. And we're talking right now with Michael Volpe, author of the article that we've been talking about, Acorn International, Wade Rathke Shakes Down the Whole World. And Mike has also written a book called Bullied to Death, Chris Machney's Kafkaesque Divorce. How do you say that?
Kafkaesque, that's named after Franz Kafka, the Czech writer at the turn of the 20th century, who wrote, it was all fiction, but who wrote about these surreal, when you get involved in surreal events where a bureaucracy takes over and control of your life. And the main character, the his divorce took, in a surreal way, took control of his life. It was very Kafkaesque.
Yeah, I'm trying to make the connection between what you do as a freelance journalist and a book about somebody committing suicide.
Right. Well, if we have time to speak, I'll explain it.
Okay, take a few minutes. Take a few minutes here. We got to wind up. I know that Joe has something he wanted to throw at you, and I want to give him some time. But go ahead and take a moment here and talk about this.
Right. Yeah, I met Chris. I actually, the guy I wrote about, he killed himself on December 29, 2013. I first started speaking to him at the end of October. I'd written an article for WND.com, used to be called World Net Daily, about top-to-bottom corruption and child protective services. And one of the activists I spoke with told me that I should look into corrupt custody evaluators and divorces. At the time, I didn't even know that there was such a thing as a custody evaluator, let alone a corrupt one. And I spoke with dozens of people, eventually Chris Mackney, and eventually, because he was in jail when I first started speaking to people. And he was destroyed in his divorce. He was left penniless, homeless, jobless, no access to his kids. He went to jail 4 times. And the torture started in earnest when he discovered that his then father-in-law, a man named Pete Scamardo, had killed his friend and business partner in the 1960s, and he got away with murder. And this guy became a real estate mogul, and I believe that he became so frightened that his deep, dark secret would come out that he decided to destroy his son-in-law, the father of his 2 grandchildren. And after about 5.5 years of experiencing this torture that was just never ending, he broke and he killed himself. And his in-laws were going to say he was crazy and that he did it because he was nuts and out of his mind. And I knew that they were going to drive the narrative if I didn't tell the truth. And the book is about that. And it's also about how completely destructive our divorce system is and how it destroys lives left and right, how abusers get kids and good parents are left out. How non-custodial parents are left with abusive child support payments, all kinds of problems.
Right.
I don't know if it's a conservative issue. It's certainly a libertarian issue in the sense that our government bureaucracy taking more and more control of your life. And that's what happened to Chris. He couldn't get out of the divorce. They wouldn't let him leave the divorce. They wouldn't let him move on with his life, and he ended it eventually. And that's why I wrote it.
Okay. All right. Well, it sounds like an interesting read. You want to get a copy of it, you can go to Amazon.com and look it up there. I would suggest, because most of us in America wouldn't be able to spell Kafkaesque. You might just want to type in bullied to death or type in Mike Volpe, Volpe, and I'm sure it will show up at Amazon.com. All right, Joe, do you want to take a moment here to, we were talking before the show, and you brought up an interesting twist on this whole community organizing thing that I hadn't even crossed my mind.
Yeah, hey, Mike. Joe here. Oh, good. Hey, Wade Rathke is now, he's got this Acorn International, correct?
Correct.
And I'm looking at it here, and I just real quick search it. I see they have headquarters in Shanghai, in China.
Correct, yeah. And that's since I've written the article, he opened that up. So that's correct. And look, this organizing, it's really effective on poor people or on unsophisticated people, and there's a lot of them in China, so it's a fertile ground, absolutely. And that's since he like I said, if he could do it, he'd do it everywhere, including Somalia. So China is certainly fertile ground.
So what rang my bell on this was, I'm thinking, oh wow, Obama was like, he worked for these guys before, he helped these guys out, he donated money to them, and he has this SEIU thugs go out there and help him out during election season, get out to vote rallies. Ha ha ha. So, and it's like, wow, Wade Rathke's showing up in China. How convenient. Oh my goodness, what else was Obama pushing through the last year? Oh, that's right, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. A trade deal. Oh, but China's not in there. Oh, what's Wade doing over there? If he's not going to make money out of this, and I'm thinking, let's just connect some dots together here real quick. And I'm saying, hey, Wade's just going to be a facilitator since he's already in the nation. He'll be able to help these poor companies to help facilitate them through the nuances of the Chinese government, of course, at a nominal fee.
Right, and that's the folks who know him well, who see him cynically. I didn't get good sources who are still true believers. What they find offensive about Wade is he presents himself as sort of like a Mother Teresa. I'm here to help you, and it really is. He's helping. It's all about accumulating power for himself. They don't even really see him as an ideologue as much as this very Machiavellian individual who wants to accumulate power. So he wants to get involved with powerful forces anywhere and accumulate as much power for himself. And that's correct. Yeah, there's a lot of things, if you can mobilize a lot of people, especially poor, unsophisticated people, that you can do in any country, including China. So you're right. There's everything is changing in China. There's a lot of things that he can manipulate, and it's, like I said, it's fertile ground. Absolutely.
Yes, and he's so well heeled too. He's got a lot of backers. I mean, he's got I don't know, that Secretary of State guy Kerry. He's giving him money. I mean, for crying out loud, this guy's got people giving him money all over the place to help him, and so he's so well heeled. He'll be able to do much more than just China. He'll be able to do the entire Pacific Rim, help out some of these other smaller companies or countries, and help them get along better with their neighbor, the big neighbor there in China.
That's correct. And here's the thing that people need to understand. I made this point in the article. He did all sorts of financial shenanigans in the United States.
Yes.
Where we have some sort of a civil society, where we have law enforcement. He's in Kenya, he's in India, he's down in South America, where they have a barely functioning government, and he's got branches in all of these countries. So can you imagine the kind of financial shenanigans? And of course he said there are banking laws against all of this, and he denied doing any of this. And like, he denies that any of this is financial shenanigans. He said he protected his brother. His brother was the embezzler. He wanted to protect his brother, and so be it. But he's in countries which have barely civil societies, barely law enforcement, with who knows what kind of banking laws, if any at all. And he's moving money around. And I made this point. In the U.S., they have to file, I think they're called 990 forms. In India, they don't have to file anything. In Dominican Republic, what's the law for starting a nonprofit in the Dominican Republic? Probably nothing. What's the law in China? Probably nothing. So it's completely non-transparent. You don't know how the money is floating around, and it's floating between third world countries. Matt Vadum, who wrote the book Subversion Inc. and who edited my article, he would track the money and looking at it from affiliate to affiliate. Well, can you imagine him trying to do that from an affiliate in India to an affiliate in Italy to affiliate in Canada to one in China? How do you track that money? It's impossible. He's basically, it's essentially a slush fund. And I haven't taken a look at, I should have taken a look at the 990s before I came on, but I don't know how big Acorn International in New Orleans has grown in terms of the funds, but my guess is it doesn't look like a big organization here in the U.S. We have no idea if he's holding out who knows how much money in Canada, in Italy, down in Dominican. We don't know how much money is floating around in there because there's really no reporting laws in most of these countries. So it can float around, and that's what's really dangerous. And that's what's really dangerous about what he's doing. It's completely non-transparent. You have no idea what he's doing with any of this stuff, and he can create a global enterprise. And look, with the Clinton Foundation, they all of their money has to be tracked because it's here. Can you imagine trying to track what he's doing? You have no idea what money he's getting. If he's getting dirty deals, it's going to be impossible to track. If he gets a dirty deal in Italy and he moves it to Kenya, we're not going to know. No one's going to know. And that's what's really dangerous about it. Absolutely.
Okay, I have something here I want to talk about. It's kind of dear to my heart, but we got to go to a break here. We got to run our short segment of breaks here, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation here with Michael Volpe, author of the article from Capital Research, or published at Capital Research, Acorn International, Wade Rathke Shakes Down the Whole World. And there's an aspect of this that I really wanted to talk about. You just briefly touched on it, but we'll get to it when we get back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers! If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
We're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with my co-host, Joe Hakos, and we want to remind you, you can pick up the archive of this show if you're listening to it right now and you want to listen to it later, share it with your friends. Go to our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, and you can pick it up there along with all of our shows. You can find out about our great Conservative Syndicate panel. Some of us write, Joe and myself write, Karen Sigmund from Rage Against the Media. Some of us are out there, and you can check it all out. Anything you want to know about our show, go to our website, theconservativesyndicate.net. We have with us right now Michael Volpe, the author of the article that we've been talking about this segment, Acorn International, Wade Rathke Shakes Down the Whole World. I'm going to give Michael a chance here just towards the end of the interview to once again plug his book. I'll let him talk about that. But I wanted to, there's something here in this article that just caught my attention and kind of dear to me. I am married to a Filipino. And because of that, Filipino television kind of rules our household. And one of the things I see probably more than anything else in terms of commercial advertisements are remittance companies, people that will send money from the United States to the Philippines, and phone companies. So the big things. How do you get cheap calls over the Philippines, and how do you get money home with high exchange rates and this, that, and the other? And I noticed here in the article here that within this context of microfinancing, you talk about microfinancing, and that is lending small amounts of money to people, and I guess in that way, indebting them to you. And that's what we were talking about. Joe and I were talking about this concept of syndicate, shaking people down, loan sharks, things like that. But this idea that Rathke is going after these remittance companies like Western Union, but there's a lot of these separate, smaller companies in the Philippines like Remitly and Zoom and companies like this that deal in this remittance services. What can you tell us about that?
Right. I don't know if he's created a branch in the Philippines, but it's especially not prevalent, but they do a lot of work in Mexico because I think it's the number one part of their economy is money sent back. So it's expats from Mexico work here and then send money back to their people. And basically he thinks that the fees are exorbitant and they're up to 20%, and he wants a ceiling. So, he wants them to be 2%, not 20%. So these poor folks don't get screwed in his view. the opponent would say it's a free market and, we can all charge what we want. But he sees these remittance companies as ripping them off. And so he organizes a bunch of poor people. They do marches on the Capitol, this, that, and the other. And they try to get governments here in the U.S. and there in Mexico to pass laws that say the most you can charge is X and you can't charge Y. And that's basically what he does. Microfinance is a separate thing that's especially done in India. And interestingly enough, he takes the contrarian view of George Soros. I think the guy's name is Mohammed Youssef. He won a Nobel Prize for his paper on microfinance. But Rathke just believes that it's a failed model, that you can't lend small amounts and make money, and the only way you can make money is to rip people off. And he basically lobbies to just end the practice because he thinks the people getting the loan are getting screwed. But, he's an extremely intelligent guy, and when he goes into an area, he gets on the ground, he knows what the problem is, and that's what he organizes around. So the reason he knows that remittance is a problem is because he spends a lot of time talking to poor people in Mexico and in the U.S. who are of Mexican descent, and so this is what they're telling him, and that's why he organizes around that.
Okay, because I follow politics in the Philippines probably as much as I follow them here, and you can see the trend in the Philippines is becoming very, it's like a microcosm of what Barack Obama would love to see happen in the United States. It's gradually turning into this socialistic type of thing where the government's involved in just about everything but actually taking care of the people. You take, for instance, a lot of the people in the Philippines work internationally. They work abroad because there's no jobs in the Philippines. And the Philippine government is getting upset at the fact they're losing all this revenue. And so rather than letting the people continue to do it, they're actually trying to pass laws now to limit or to ban international travel for the purpose of working. And because they're not getting anything out of it. And I just see these correlations here. And when I saw this thing about the remittance companies, it immediately popped in my mind. There's probably 5 or 6 of them I see every night on TV advertising. And I just wondered, I'm looking here on a website right now, Acorn International. I'm not sure if it's the same one, but it's a federation it's a federation member-based community organizations, Canada, Peru, Argentina, Mexico, India, Kenya, Dominican Republic, Honduras, South Carolina, Czech Republic, Italy, with partners in the Philippines and Trinidad and Tobago. So
that's the same one. And, that's an interesting point you make. All of this sounds good, but if Wade Rathke's vision is accomplished, it also means a lot more government interference. What he wants is for the government to tell the remittance company how much they can charge, which sounds all good and well when they're charging 20%, and maybe that's abusive. But at the same time, now the government is telling these remittance companies what they can charge. And look, if they're if you tell them they can only charge 5%, that may not be profitable for Western Union anymore, so they may not do remittance. And that's not something he necessarily tells people. And the other thing that I pointed out is, especially in India, his boogeyman is Walmart, and so he's not, he wouldn't call it confrontational, but there's all sorts of things that he would like the government to do as far as managing Walmart's entrance into markets in Italy, which again sounds all good and well, but at the same time, this is the expansion of government in countries with very marginal civil society. They don't govern. You think we govern poorly? Go live in Kenya for a while and see how they govern. And you've got a government in India that's corrupt, and you want them to manage Walmart, and you can put the Walmart here but not here, and it can be this big but not this big. And is that what you want? You want the government to micromanage how Walmart does business in Italy, in India? And that's what he wants, certainly. All of these ideas from microfinance. He's actually really, if you look at it, does take it's a contrarian view. I don't know if microfinance fits into the same ideology as far as government interference, but would you say then the last question here in the time that we have here, would you say that Wade Rathke's motivation is more
about money or power?
It's power. It's definitely power. I don't think he's outrageously wealthy, but the amount of powerful people he knows that he can influence is immense. I don't think he's not poor. I don't think he's worth millions. He might be worth $8 million. Nobody will know. He's going to hide all of that. But no, it's absolutely the accumulation of power. That's why he's so proud of the fact that he's known Bill Clinton since 1971. Okay. That puts him at the highest levels there.
He has that common thread of narcissism.
Absolutely. Not how he would say it. That's how we would say it. He's such a complex guy. I've interviewed him a bunch of times, and I'm speculating a lot. I think it is, but I'm not sure. I think he's everything, a little bit of everything everybody says he is. There's a little bit of goodness, a little bit of power, a little bit of everything, and certainly a little bit of corruption in him. And so, it's all of that. But I think money is a lot less important to him than the accumulation of power. Acorn brought him an influence in just about every single facet of life. I don't know how much money it brought him, but it certainly brought him to the annals of power at the highest levels, and that's what he wants. He wants to be able to influence the world.
That makes him a good ally with the people like the Obamas and the Clinton who want money. So
right,
we're out of time, Michael. I wanted to give you a few moments here once again to plug your book to let people know how they can find it.
Right, it's called Bullied to Death, Chris Machney's Kafkaesque Divorce. It's not just available on Amazon, though generally the best prices are on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, any online book retailer, a few bookstores as well. The other thing I wanted to mention, just for name dropping, the murder that Scamardo committed, he actually hired a man named Charles Harrelson. If that name sounds familiar, that's because his son is the actor Woody Harrelson. There's also a reference to The Sopranos, The Grateful Dead. There's a lot of different name dropping, but if you've never been through divorce and you're naive to how it works, this is a world all its own. It's a surreal world where your First Amendment, your Second Amendment, your Fourth Amendment, your Eighth Amendment, your 14th Amendment, all your rights are taken away from you at a whim based on these Orwellian concepts, and some people break, like Chris Machney. The other thing is the people who did this to him, they didn't want the story told, and so by buying the book, you see what happened to him, and there's a lot of evil in this story, and the only way to confront it is by people knowing the story, and so hopefully you check out the book.
All right, we appreciate it so much, Michael. I'd like to have you back sometime. You're an interesting guy.
Anytime.
Okay, all right. Okay, thanks so much, my friend. God bless you.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, all right. It's time for the Edwards Notebook, guys. We're at the top of the hour here, and we got to pay some bills, and then we'll be back hour 2. We'll be talking a little bit about the State of the Union message and what's going on with the Hillary campaign, because there are some things that we do need to cover about that. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be.
Does President Obama really believe that violence would be reduced by restricting our right to own and bear arms? Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, during President Obama's recent crocodile tears press conference, where he announced his executive action to further restrict gun sales and ownership, he feigned concern about the victims of Sandy Hook, or so it seems. The president expressed his concern about gun violence in America. To really get his point across, he even misled the American people by saying that the United States was the only advanced nation to suffer horrific gun-violent events. I guess he forgot about the recent terrorist attack in Paris, where numerous unarmed citizens were gunned down by worshippers of Allah. Unfortunately, if every gun were taken from law-abiding sovereign citizens, violence would not cease. In fact, it would dramatically increase. First of all, because more unarmed Americans would mean more potential victims for terrorists and other thugs who prey on those they perceive to pose the least resistance. Mr. President, it will take a change of heart amongst those seeking to kill, steal, and destroy to reduce violence, not taking away our God-given right of self-protection. I'm Ron Edwards.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require. Cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers! If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, all you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet.
Vying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
We're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate. This is Hour 2. I'm your host, John Matthews, mad prophet of the airways, along with my co-host, Joe. You can't handle the truth, Hakos. I hope you enjoyed that interview. What was your take on that whole thing, Joe?
I think there are a few former, probably deceased mob members that just dreamed of trying to get away with this guy's getting away with, what Rathke's getting away with, and the Clintons are getting away with, what Obama's going to try to get away with, what Soros and all his friends are getting away with. They would have dreamed of it. I mean, I just keep going back to that line in The Godfather when they're down in Cuba. They go, "We have a government that work. Well, we can work with here." You know, it's just banana republic stuff. It's just, oh my goodness, it's unbelievable. And you know, he got caught here. His brother got caught embezzling almost $1 million, and Wade stepped up and benevolently, you know, took the fall for his brother Dale. Well, you know, bull crap. All right. That's a bunch of crap. These guys aren't nice guys. Period.
No, I'm kind of surprised at I guess, when you think about what we've been dealing with and we've been talking about for the last 7.5, 8 years, in terms of, the motivation behind what's going on. And to just, this guy, if Mike is right here in his assessment, I'm assuming he's interviewed the guy, he's been able to pick up some things about him. The idea that it's just all about power. It's just all about having power, not
Absolutely.
Wealth or anything else, not even fame, just having the power. That is something that boggles my mind.
Well, what Mike was talking about when he said, "Hey, if you cross him, and then he's going to he's going to have people out there, stand in front of your driveway." Well, that's what those SEIU people were for. Those were their muscle arm. His muscle arm. Whenever he had any issues going on, he just sent out his little SEIU thugs in their little purple and yellow T-shirts, and they went out there and they made sure that that you got to see them in front of your house, so you knew somebody was watching you. All that kind of crap. It's just
You found this link during the break, Joe, and I just wanted to bring this up because, again, it seems like these big power players, you got guys like this Wade Rathke and George Soros, they're not really into being in the public eye. They kind of run everything from behind.
They'd much rather be in the shadows.
You're right.
And that's the reason why Rathke went away, because he had the light shone on him, shined on him very brightly, and he had to scurry off like the little cockroach that he is.
Yeah, so you measure this in terms of the evil meter. You got somebody like Barack Obama who does what he does because he wants to be worshipped. These guys do it just for the kicks and giggles. That there's the epitome of evil. I just do it because I want to do it. It's like no other motivation. But you brought up in this link here, just this. I was not aware of this. I'm like, man, I got to start doing some reading on this stuff. Rathke is the president and co-founder of the SEIU?
That's correct. That's what I'm telling you.
I mean, I could see, surfacing, well, he's involved with it. He's a board member. He's a business agent for or whatever. The co-founder of the SEIU. And now you talk about the ties with Barack Obama. The SEIU is Barack Obama's outreach post out there. Remember him saying we're going to paint the country purple?
Yeah.
So there's got to be.
You know what else I remember? I remember a lady going out there. We're going to give me my Obama phone and everything. And all you saw her walking around her, if you remember that lady, who all of a sudden,
and then Rathke
Obama got elected, went, wow, this sucks. But anyway. While she was out there going, we're going to be at my Obama phone. Yeah, I'm so security and all that good stuff. Yeah, all little purple T-shirts running around her from SEIU as they bust her around from place to place that day.
Right. And then he chairs the AFL-CIO, organizers forum. That ties in with the Teamsters.
It's all union.
Wow.
All union all day, all night, brother. Workers of the world unite.
Yeah, it's just... Wow. I'm just looking at that and I'm saying, wow, this is how these guys, they're so behind the scenes pulling the strings. That is amazing. I'm like, man, this is a whole other area that we need to look at. Do some more, some research on this. Because, like I said, I guess I want to, just for a moment, just fit it back into the big picture here. These are the people that Obama's going to be hanging out with once he leaves. Now, I'm sure they've had their conversations however they do it, whether it's through third party or whatever. But, once he's clear of the White House, he's not going to have the microscope as much as, he's not going to be watched as much. And, here's something, Joe. I just want to ask you, we got a couple of minutes here before we go to break. This is our short segment here. What do you think the chances are? I'm floating the idea that Obama wants world dominance. He wants to be the head of the UN. Do you think he might try, or is there anything that would stop him from running for senator again? Could he do that?
Oh, he most certainly could do that. That's happened before. That's happened plenty of times before. It's happened before in our history. So yeah, there's nothing stopping him from doing that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
But he cannot serve another term as president.
Right. I understand that. But the reason I asked that is because he's made indications that he's going to base out of D.C. once he gets out of the White House. that means he can't run a senator because D.C. doesn't have any senators. If I'm correct, they don't have.
Look, they take him open arms in Chicago or in Illinois again for crying out loud. In fact, they really, really should put the name of Illinois and Chicago and Ferguson and St. Louis and Baltimore and Philadelphia and Cleveland and Gary, Indiana. All those names should go right on that seat right next to Michelle tonight.
Right.
As she's up there in that box.
Right, but if I'm correct, Washington, D.C. itself has no representation in the Senate. Am I right?
You are correct, because there's only 100 senators.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't just shooting my mouth off there. But yeah, because 52 per state. Okay, got it. Yeah.
Hey, let's remember why Acorn was such had its demise. Remember last in an election cycle, they were out there doing get out the vote efforts. And they're having such things as Mickey Mouse put on the thing, and they were paying people to go out and gather up these signatures, and they didn't care how the signatures were. They didn't care how corrupt it was.
Oh, I know. And in the last election, they were the ones that were behind that scandal out there in Utah, where they were going out there in the college campuses and digging out absentee ballots out of the trash of students that graduated or left the college.
Correct. And let's not forget, there were also the undercover videos where they went out and they're like, "Hey, I want to be a pimp. Can you help me out here? Can you tell me how to get this thing organized? So I can go ahead and start making some money?" Yeah. Okay. That's Acorn. Let's remember who these people are.
Okay, we got to do a commercial here. This is our short segment. Running a couple commercials here. We'll be right back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
we're back, and you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, along with my co-host, Joe Hakos, and I am John Matthews, your mad prophet of the airways. And, you know, I want to shift gears here. I want to talk about the Hillary campaign, and then probably in the next segment after that, I want to talk a little bit about the State of the Union tonight. I really am kind of just been out of shape about, I guess, I don't know why. What really is bugging me are the people that are going to be sitting in the stands out there. The seat arrangements, it just really kind of got my goat, because this is almost like Obama's coming out and going to flaunt his fundamental transformation attempts and his agenda in front of the American people and basically snub his nose at us, nah kind of thing. That's what I expect. That's what I expect to hear in his tone and his delivery. That, hey, I've done it in spite of everything that you've tried to do to stop me, that kind of stuff. But I want to talk about the Hillary campaign, because we kind of mentioned it towards the end of the show yesterday, because it was just kind of breaking at that time. There was speculation out there at the beginning, maybe over the weekend, that the emails, there's some of these emails that are coming out that are kind of a little bit more damning than some of the other ones. They're a little harder to brush off by the Clinton campaign. And the talk is, gearing up that there's the FBI is expanding their checks or their investigation on the content of these emails. And by what I mean by expanding is they're looking at other aspects of not just the classified information breaches, but perhaps using her influence as state secretary for the purpose of funneling money into the Clinton Foundation. And so it went from just idle speculation over the weekend to it may look like something's coming down the pipe here as far as her being indicted or prosecuted for public or political corruption, which is a charge that it really hasn't been floated out there so much. As much as just the breach of security, and that then leads in back to the remembrances about Benghazi, and it all kinds of ties together, and everybody's just looking at this as like, what is it going to take these Clintons down? What is it going to be? And there's another aspect of it is the fact that the media is amping up the covering of this type of stuff. I'm beginning to wonder if perhaps somebody in the Obama camp, or on the leftist side at least, is saying, maybe Hillary is more risk or more liability than we want to deal with. What do you think, Joe? Do you think the left is just kind of summing things up and going, I don't know if it's going to be such a great deal if Hillary is the person that we put up there?
I think they're going to wait until after a primary.
Yeah. I agree that. There probably won't be any move made. One thing about liberals you can predict, they won't do anything unless they absolutely, without a doubt, have to.
Because, they're always right, so they're never wrong. Yeah. So,
but I want to start
until, the whole building's on fire.
I want to start this segment off about Hillary's campaign with just a quick, short article that came out in Fortune magazine yesterday. And it's a poll that came out. The Gallup poll was released on Monday. 42% of Americans are now saying they are independents, and 29% are identifying themselves as Democrats, and only 26% are identifying themselves as Republicans. Now, this is not good news for either the Republican or the Democrat Party. It really isn't. When you got just a little over a quarter voting population out there claiming to be on your side, it doesn't fare well for the Republicans or the Democrats. And that, again, I think in the last election cycle, we were looking at about 33% of the public as independent. And the independents swing these elections. Make no mistake about it. It isn't the conservatives. It isn't the liberals. It isn't the operatives on the Republican Party or the Democrat side. These independents are the ones, and they're fickle people. They're fickle. Most independents I know are fickle. They're
munches, people. As far as I'm concerned. They're wastoids. They ride on the backs of everybody that does all the hard work and does everything that needs to be done, and then they ride around like, we're some great people. They're full of it.
Yeah, I agree. I have a couple of close friends who are independents, and I say, I can tell you're an independent because you don't want to talk about anything. And it's like, they're the armchair quarterbacks. They like to sit there and tell everybody how corrupt and screwed up everything is, but they don't do anything to help change it. So,
absolutely. They waiting for everybody else to do something, and then they go, "Oh, yay, we helped." You need help. You didn't do squat.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that, John, what you said about they need the independents. You need the independent vote in this country to win an election. Bull crap.
Oh, I didn't say that. I said they're the swing vote. I didn't. That doesn't necessarily equate.
I don't think they're even a swing vote, John. I believe that if you got a conservative out there who puts out the message, the conservative message, and does it consistently day after day, hour after hour, minute after minute, and does that every single day until the election day comes up, I believe that person's going to win a landslide because they're going to get people out there to vote.
Oh,
that's what the problem is. When you only have not even 1/3 of this nation voting in an election, John, the entire nation, there's something wrong with that. If you can't even get 50% out, you can't even get 20% out there. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's why elections are lost. People not voting.
Oh, I agree with that, Joe. I'm not arguing that. That's exactly actually a point I wanted to make. Is that I'm looking at this when we talk about the independents being a swing vote. I'm talking about them being the ones that show up, have been showing up, but we know the majority of this country is still very conservative, ideologically based. And all you have to do is do something to get them off their seats. We saw that in 2010. We saw it in 2012. We saw it again in 2014. If you can get them to the polls, we can win.
Absolutely, you can win. But if you don't do that, then you're going to have everybody sitting on their hands, and then you're going to have what you've had the last 2 election cycles for president.
Right.
If you throw another, Cruz said it best, if you throw another open borders, whatever, moderate Republican out there, the Democrats are going to win. Absolutely. That's positive. Absolutely right.
Yeah,
he said it best on that debate.
Yeah, because the independents will lean to the left.
Yes, of course, because they want to be just like the Trimmers were in the Revolutionary. We want to be on the winning side. Whatever side's going to win, that's the side we want to be on. They don't want to pay a price to have their freedom.
Right. Well, the independents will lean left, and the conservatives will stay home. That's what happened. That really was what happened. That's really what happened to Romney. Most of the conservatives just said, screw it. You know, if you break down the numbers in the 2012 election. And you can see what happened, 3 to 6 million by some calculations, where popular vote. Obama didn't win by that much in the popular vote. Where he won was he racked up the Electoral College.
Yeah, but, you had the East Coast, the West Coast, and the big cities in the Midwest. Right. Yeah, so he had it taken care of. You know, when you got 99% of a precinct voting for one guy, really? Come on, man.
Well, when you start out basically with California and New York, you got 170 electoral votes before the election even takes place.
Absolutely, yeah. So you know what's going to happen then. So it's time, and I say conservative message. Not that Trump's going to give you a conservative message, but people are sick and tired of being played. Absolutely sick of being played. When you go through like over 12 years of this crap. People are absolutely fed up, and the establishment Republicans still have not caught on to it. You're going to have these morons out there, like our friend that was over there that called up the Breitbart News guys, and he's going to vote for Hillary Clinton come hell or high water. Doesn't matter. You're going to have those people out there. They don't care. They absolutely don't care.
Well, I'll tell you one thing.
And that's a statement. That's not just a statement on Hillary Clinton. That's a statement on those people themselves.
Right.
Those people, that's the kind of people we have in our country now that just don't care about
that's why we can say we got 42. That's why we can say 42% of the people claim independence. Independents don't really care. They just like to bitch. But here's something I'm seeing out here, Joe. I'm getting these little rumblings out here in California. And I think this could really kind of be a preview, perhaps, of things to come in 2016 if Hillary is still standing by that time. Out here in California, I don't know what the numbers are, but I know that the majority of people I'm talking to and people that I'm talking, that are just in passing having conversations, Trump could do really well out here in California. In a general election, he might take California. And because there are a lot of people out here in California that when you talk to them, they may not be politically savvy. You know, you start talking to them about ideologies and policies and everything else. I'm not finding too many people, even on either side of the argument, that are really, really educated, really informed. Even people that I talk to on a regular basis within my own conservative circles are still relatively ignorant as to what's actually going down in terms of policy and agenda. They know something's wrong, but they can't identify it.
Yeah.
But when you start, the name Trump comes up, and the room lights up. And it doesn't matter. You ask them, well, what do you think about? They don't care about what he believes. They just care about that he's saying something that they believe.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. They're saying something that they've been saying all along. He's saying something that they've been saying all along, like, why do I have to press 1 for English in my country?
That would be, I think, because I don't think Ted Cruz in a general election would be able to take California. Trump might.
Well, and I've heard the same thing about Trump in New York. There's rumblings that say, hey, Trump could probably take New York, which would be unheard of.
Yeah, well, it'd be certainly would be a rude awakening to the Democrats for Trump to take California. I mean, they all would think, everybody's in Moonbeam's pocket out here.
Yep, absolutely.
But there is just a general dissatisfaction, as you were just saying, Joe, that people aren't even really concerned about. They're really not really concerned about policies anymore. Is that what they want is they want to be represented again. They want to believe they're being represented. Let's say that. They may not
somebody listen to them and is at least saying the same thing that they were thinking.
Yeah. If you're going to lie to me, at least stroke me before you lie to me. Yeah, so
we're starting down a rabbit hole there.
Yeah. So anyway, before we go to the break here, I want to touch on one more thing before we actually get talking about Hillary's campaign and what's going on. There's a couple of things that's going on with her, but I want to talk about this. We just talked about the fact that both the Democrat and Republican Party at least are losing name recognition. Now, whether people are closet Republicans or closet Democrats, I don't know. But the point being is the polls are showing that Democrats and Republicans are both losing people. And the number of people claiming to be independent are picking up. I think that in and of itself is significant in terms of just measuring the trend, what's going on out here across the country right now. I want to recap real quick here what's going to happen with the Democrat debate. See, nobody's talking about that. And the reason I think this is relevant now is because Bernie Sanders, my last report that I got my hands on, says he's either dead even with Clinton in New Hampshire or slightly ahead of her now.
Oh, he's way ahead of her in New Hampshire.
Okay, and I think he's neck to neck with her in Iowa. Is he not he's like neck and neck with her in Iowa right now, right?
That's correct. He's within the margin of error. He's basically tied.
Okay, so the DNC is doing everything they can to minimize this. They only have 3 more debates. They've got one coming up in January. And the reason I'm bringing this up because I wanted to mention to you who's sponsoring them. Okay.
Okay.
NBC News and the Congressional Black Caucus Institute and the South Carolina Democratic Party will be hosting the one in January. This will take place in Charleston, South Carolina. The Congressional Black Caucus Institute.
What is that, on a Sunday at like 11 o'clock at night?
Let's see, January 17th. What day is January 17th? Sunday. Okay. Yeah, and we're going to be in the heat of the playoffs. That's 2 weeks before the Super Bowl. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Those Democrats. They really want people to watch the debate.
Okay. February 11th, which will be the week after the Super Bowl, will be the next one. And that will be co-sponsored by PBS, Public Broadcasting. That's something.
Paying for that?
This is something I want to look at. This is bugging me. That we have a nonprofit that is tax-funded hosting a Democrat debate.
Yeah, why am I paying for it? I don't want to pay for that. That's kind of like making me pay union dues and having you go out and spew your Democratic propaganda with my fellow union members. That's crazy. Why am I paying for that?
Yeah. So if PBS is going to sponsor this thing, then I want to see Bert and Ernie and Big Bird on the panel.
I want them 2 old guys up in the balcony and the Muppets to be the moderators.
And then the Wisconsin Democratic Party will be March 6th, final debate, Miami, Florida, your neck of the woods, on March 9th. It'll be co-sponsored by the Washington Post, the Florida Democratic Party, and the Spanish language channel Univision. So I'm lining that up for you. We got to go to break here right now because it's time for the Moments of Madness. But I'm laying all this out for you for a reason. We're going to talk about the Hillary campaign when we get back. And believe me, there are some people worried on that side of the aisle. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Now it's time for Moments of Madness. Today on Moments of Madness. An article posted at Bloomberg by Jonathan Bernstein entitled "The Trump Effect Begins to Hit Congress" illustrates very well that what is at stake in the upcoming 2016 general election is not about the GOP's concern about who they will oppose in the Oval Office, but whether or not they have a majority that allows them to protect their individual posts. Bernstein very accurately points out that whether or not Trump magically transforms into the hybrid conservative moderate formerly known as a rhino, the GOP still stands to lose in those demographics they are working so hard to win over through their continual compromise with Obama's agenda to fundamentally transform the United States of America due to Trump's unwillingness to tone his rhetoric and instead fall in line behind the bonerized yes men that rule today's establishment. But that's not all. While the GOP tries their best to convey, all they need to return America to the GOP platform they themselves have dismantled plank by plank is control of the executive branch. It is quite obvious, even if a real conservative like Ted Cruz, himself a member of their most sought-after demographic, should be the last candidate standing, they fear losing the stability that defines the establishment they have worked decades to create in the House and Senate. Here's the madness. The bottom line is, it is not the future of America that is at stake. It's their jobs. The likes of Donald Trump or Ted Cruz in the White House threaten those jobs. Winning to today's GOP elite is more about the individual security that comes from holding a position that equates intelligence and skill with esteem and pay while exhibiting no qualifications for the job whatsoever. We know this because the current list of establishment elites seeking the White House remain at the bottom of the pond with popularity numbers between 0 and 3%. Yet they are still the ones the media flock to and the left exhorts when upper-tier candidates like Trump or Cruz comment on the weather in hope of rising from the bottom to the top of the cesspool they thrive in. When the best you can do is whine about today's political landscape while at the same time lamenting that which once was, who cares what John Kasich thinks about legislative reform? When the best you can refer to is a past that fades like a Clinton scandal, who cares if Jeb Bush tells you he can fix what he and his family helped break? When you do not even have a number that registers on the scale, who cares what Lindsey Graham believes is good foreign policy? In fact, who cares what Graham thinks about anything except maybe his choice of wine? It remains to be seen whether or not the GOP knocks over the chessboard by forcing a brokered convention next year in hope of getting their choice on the ballot, because they know they are about to lose to the new kid in the class. But one thing is certain. Regardless of how the rules are changed, everyone knows who the brats are, and everyone knows class is about to be dismissed. Maybe, just maybe then, these elites can take the position they are most qualified for, janitor sweeping the floors of the halls of Congress. This is John Matthews for Moments of Madness.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers! If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. And
we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos from Dryer Report. I want to get back to our discussion here on the Hillary campaign, and there's some rumblings going in Hillary camp, just like there's some rumblings going in the Trump camp right now. The polls are showing that I believe Cruz right now is ahead of Trump in Iowa, I believe New Hampshire and South Carolina. Am I right there, Joe?
He's ahead in Iowa. Cruz is ahead in Ohio, barely ahead. Trump's ahead in New Hampshire and South Carolina.
Okay, okay. So, and so Trump, he's doing what Trump does. He just seizes the narrative. He's reintroduced this idea of Cruz's eligibility as if that's going to affect conservatives. Real conservatives don't care.
Well, and when I say, Cruz is ahead, Cruz and Trump basically get like 60% of the vote.
Right.
If you go by the polls there in Iowa. I mean, that's how far ahead they are of the rest of the Republicans.
Right. And we still have to put up with Jeb Bush on the stage tomorrow. And
Jeb
John
Bush
Kasich.
and his buddy Kasich.
Yeah. I think, to me, just relegate those two to Saturday Night Live. They get more attention there than they would.
Well, why, again, we said this last night, why is Kasich there when he's got less percentage than Rand Paul?
Yeah.
It doesn't, so their little rationale as to how they choose the big people stage is bullcrap. Right. What weight do they have there? You use the poll? Well, if you use the polls, then Kasich doesn't need, or Kasich doesn't need to be there on the stage there. That's ridiculous. So obviously that's not what they're doing. They're only putting him on there because he's a sitting governor.
Right. Now
and he's from Ohio.
Now the reason I wanted to bring up what's going on in the Clinton campaign right now, Quinnipiac, I looked this up during the break. Quinnipiac is showing Sanders leading by 5 points in Iowa. And the Man-Mouth poll shows him ahead by 14 in New Hampshire.
Yeah, crazy, huh?
Now, even if Iowa is within the margin of error, basically what we're looking at to just 2 months ago, Hillary had this just monumental lead on him. I think it was like double, like 60% to 30%. I'm rounding
it was
numbers
ridiculously large. It was like no-brainer.
So now we're sitting here at this double, almost dead even according to the latest polls here. And this has caused the Clinton campaign to come out now and start to float some. I guess what I'm saying is they're trying to utilize some of the tactics that they used in 2008 against Barack Obama when the polls began to shift in Obama's favor.
They're trying to soften the blow.
Out of the starting gate, Clinton was almost, the assured nominee. And then, of course, Barack Obama came out with his hope and change. I'm a clean slate. And by the way, I'd be the first black president, and I'm cool and everything else. And it was enough to overtake and eventually push Hillary Clinton out of the way. And so she's recycled. Isn't it funny how these people do this stuff? They try these things, and they fail, and they turn around and they try them again.
Hello, Karl Rove.
I'm like, it's kind of like Mitt Romney and John McCain losing the elections. And then what do? You go back to them and you ask them how to win an election.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, why would you ask these losers on how to win when they're losers?
Yeah, when you look at especially how bad McCain got waxed, and you're thinking, why would anybody call this guy up and say, hey, I want you to come on the show and talk to me about how to win an election?
It's like, who cares what he has to say? It's kind of like, why don't you ask a Democrat on how the Republicans should win? It's the same thing. It's like, they have no vested interest in that. No. It's like asking the wolf on how to keep the fox from eating the chickens.
Yeah, why don't you go get a bottle of Ripple, call your buddies Graham and Boehner, and go hide out in a closet somewhere? It's amazing. But they do that. It's kind of like going and asking Jimmy Carter about policies. They do this. They recycle these people. Oh yeah, let's talk to Jimmy Carter about foreign policy, huh?
Or get Bob Dole, or better, get Bob Dole to ask him about what's wrong with Donald Trump. Oh my goodness, really? It's Bob Dole. He's buried alive.
All right. So anyway,
he's a personification of a mummy.
Clinton's floating this idea here that what Bernie Sanders is suggesting or telling people here, Bernie Sanders, the self-described democratic socialist, I can see Russia from my house kind of thing. Democratic socialism. It's like Sweden. It's like Finland. It's no definition. I keep doing this. In fact, next week I'll probably going to spend a little time revisiting the democratic socialistic ideology, because what it is all these people keep telling you is what they think it is. They cannot or will not explain to you how it works. It's like, well, this is what it is. It's when everybody gets a fair share, and it's when everybody, nobody has poverty. There's no poverty, and when everybody gets a decent wage, and when everybody has health care, and when everybody has college education and doesn't have to pay for it. That's what democratic social. Okay, how are you going to do that? We'll tax the wealthy. That's what we'll do. We'll tax the wealthy.
Yeah, it's the Republicans' fault.
But anyway, she's floating, or she's revisiting her campaign tactics against Barack Obama, saying that basically Bernie Sanders thinks he can just wave the magic wand and everything is going to be okay. All the special interests will disappear. Everything will all the people are going to get together. I was really laughed at this when I saw this. I'm going to read you this quote real quick here. She says, I could stand up here and say, let's get everybody together, let's get unified. The sky will open, the light will come down, celestial choirs will be singing, and everyone will know that we should do the right thing, and the world will be perfect. I guarantee you, Hillary, if the sky's open, it ain't going to be a celestial choir that's coming down.
Oh, that's so funny, man. And how old is this magic wand that Bernie's waving around?
And it won't be a magic wand. It'll be fire and brimstone. That's what it'll be.
Just how old is that wand?
So anyway, align with that. Interesting that the website 538, which by the way is very accurate in their predictions, one of the most accurate organizations or websites in terms of who wins the elections, they've got Sanders actually winning this thing right now. That's interesting, because these guys are not schluffs. When it comes to picking people. And so right now they've got Sanders winning this. But it's interesting that they have him winning Iowa, New Hampshire, and Vermont. But, of course, it's because, as they claim, it has a disproportionate share of white, self-identified liberals. That sounds kind of racist, doesn't it?
Well, it sounds kind of true, though.
Well, it sounds true, for sure. If you got Howard Dean as your governor, for crying out loud, yeah.
Yahoo!
Yeah!
It sucks. That's the thing about liberals. You can give them facts, and they'll writhe around like you hit them like a vampire hitting daylight. But because facts are facts, and they just can't get around facts. Facts are just.
Here's my point. We got 2 weeks before the first primary election, and we've got this coming down the pipe about Hillary's emails. And it looks like the media, at least the conservative media, has gone from there could be a problem to it looks like there is going to be a problem with this investigation. And if that materializes here in the next week or so, this whole thing changes for the left.
Oh, yes, it does. But it is still a wait and see because we understand who we're talking about, which is the Clintons.
Yeah, and that means we're going to have to get old Uncle Joe out of the wheelchair or pull in Al Gore off the icebergs up north and perhaps float a different candidate out there. That's what I'm saying right now. I'm really seeing that. We got to go to a break. When we come back, I want to talk about the State of the Union message a little bit. And
if we must.
Yeah, we must. I actually had requests about it today. That's why I'm doing it. So.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. Hey, we're back. And you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. And we're coming up to the last segment of the show here. And I want to just briefly talk about the State of the Union message. First of all, I'm not really sure what time exactly is this supposed to take place. Do you know, Joe?
I believe it's almost 9 o'clock Eastern.
Okay, so it'd be about 6 o'clock Eastern here, or Western out here. So that means that will be just about the time I get out of post. So, okay, let's see what's going on here.
If you must, go ahead and watch
well, we know,
John.
Yeah, we know as we reviewed yesterday, this is going to be very little about the State of the Union per se.
Yeah, there's not going to be any policy things come out of there. It's just going to be, hey, I'm Barack Obama, and these are the greatest things that I've done since I've been president. I hope you enjoy them as I go through the list of these now. I have people representing each and every one of these items, so please follow along on your programs and clap where it says applause.
Yeah, so let's just review a couple of the facts, because we're going to get a lot of fiction when he gets up there in front of his teleprompter. He is now, Barack Obama, according to most polls, is right around 40 to 42% approval rating. Okay, now, to give you, let's put that in perspective. That's right around what George W. Bush was when he got ready to leave office. Okay, only 28% of the people in the polls say that the country is strong and confident. 71% say no. And we covered this a couple weeks ago in the hidden poll by NBC Wall Street Journal. It said 73% of the country says they want somebody different than Barack Obama. The question was phrased in such a way that they were saying, basically, we don't like the way the country's going. We want somebody different than Barack Obama. So there's your hope and change, okay? Americans are asked, how do you feel about the economy? 49% say optimistic, down from 58% at the same time last year. Now, and we're supposed to be in the throes of this great economic recovery. We're talking about losing what is that? That's 42%, or what did I say it was? 49% down from 58. So that's almost a 10-point spread there. So all these jobs that Obama's created and all these things that he's done to make the economy so functional, and we're at the same numbers that we were at a year ago. Actually worse than we were a year ago. Here. So here we got, and so what are we going to hear? We're going to hear Barack Obama tell us why we're wrong. That's basically what we're looking at here.
No, he's going to tell us, hey, you're looking at it the wrong way. You should look at it the way I look at it, because I'm Barack Obama.
So people aren't making the same amount of money they were making, but at least they're working.
Yeah, at least you have a job.
So your median income has come down $3,500 from when I took office. But at least you got a job. Yeah, I know you're not an engineer
your dollar's
anymore.
Not going as far as it did before, but at least you have a dollar.
Yeah, you're not an engineer anymore. You're flipping burgers at McDonald's. But hey, we're working on getting you $15 minimum wage.
Hey, you can't get a job to pay off that student loan, but that's okay. At least you have a job. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's great. It's so awesome. Hey, just don't worry about, that we had that credit downgrade for the first time in American history that I was president for. Don't worry about that. Don't look at that. Don't look up there at the balcony. There's people up there I'm going to talk about.
Well,
State of the Union, hashtag.
Yeah, and what I expect to hear from him more than anything, and I think this is evidence demonstrated by the people that he's got in his crowd, the people that are going to be visiting there. I think it's going to be more about what he believes to be his foreign accomplishments. I think he's going to brush over the domestic stuff. We got it down for the LGBT crowd, and but everything else is going to be about. He's going to try to downplay his failure on foreign policy, because that's where he really
shines.
That's where everybody's really looking right now. Not that his domestic policy is any better. It's just that right now, we've talked about this several times on the show, how these issues get recycled. And if we were, I think a year ago, everybody was talking about immigration from the South. And a year before that, it was all about the economy. This year, it's all about immigration from the Middle East. These things just get recycled. And then throw in the LGBT crap in between. So
the social experimentation spice of the day, and you throw it into the pot, and voila, we have our dish for the State of the Union address.
And a lot of what he says is a lot of what he's going to talk about in terms of his foreign policy accomplishments is going to be conjecture. Well, we got this great climate agreement, this climate agreement that nobody signed. We got this Iranian deal. We got this great Iranian deal, which the Iranians, since the inception of it, even before they agreed to it, were already talking about how they were going to back out of it, and are now floating the idea of backing out of it. Why? Because of the refugee thing. Oh, you're going to make it harder for our people to get over in your country now? Well, you know what? That's a violation of our treaty. That's a violation of our agreement.
And the Iranians, John, you understand the Iranians took 10 American sailors today as they were, quote unquote, in Iranian territory. So they're on some little island somewhere.
Well, that's what's being floated by the Iranian leadership over there, is that tightening up on the visas will make it more difficult for their people who are supposed to come over here and collect all this money that they're going to release. They're supposed to be.
Oh yeah, they're within days of doing that, according to John Kerry. Just days away from releasing that $10-point-something billion.
Yeah, and apparently the people that are supposed to come over here and make it happen are going to have a little bit more difficulty getting here. So the Iranian leadership saying, "Hey, you're making it harder for us to get our cash." So we're going to renege. I'll tell you what's going to happen on this Iranian deal. The day those bank accounts are cleaned out, Iran's going to pull out of this deal. Mark my words. They were talking about it before they agreed to it. They've been talking about it since. And once they get their money, they're going to take the money and run. It's going to be snuff their nose back into America and go, hey, now watch what happens. And I bet you by the time the next president finishes their first 120 days, don't be surprised if they already have a nuclear bomb sitting out there somewhere. I don't. People may think that's a stretch. I don't think so.
I think they already have it, John.
I think they do too. I think it's all there, and it's just a matter of just floating it out there, just putting it out there.
You got John Kerry out there going, Heinz ketchup. Thank you, John, for shut up now, and please quit trying to negotiate anything because you're making it worse for America.
Yeah.
But those are the shiny parts of the State of the Union address, John. I'm glad you brought those all up.
Well, for me, this is what I'm going to be looking at. I'll tell you what I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to be looking to see if Ginsburg is awake. I'm going to be looking at the facial expressions of Paul Ryan during this thing.
You don't think he's going to jump up and applaud every time Obama says them, like Nancy Pelosi did?
I'm going to try to pay attention to how ecstatic people like Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden act compared to how somber people like Mitch McConnell act. When he makes all these great statements and the Democrats start, having orgasmic throws out in the aisles. And I want to see how the Republicans respond. I want to see if the Republicans...
I like turtles.
I want to see if the Republicans applaud when Obama announces or introduces his guests. These are the things I'm going to look for. Ooh. I don't care what Obama's going to say because it's going to be nothing. It's going to be nothing he hasn't said before. We could, like I said, we could do the speech here. And we know exactly what's going to come down the pipe.
Barack Obama's great, and everything he couldn't get accomplished is because the Republicans blocked him from doing it.
Yeah,
hello, good night. See ya. Remember to tip your waiter.
So it'll be interesting. Now, closing comment, Joe, I want to get from you. South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley is supposed to be the one giving the post-Obama response. Why do you think they chose her?
Because she did such an outstanding job with the Confederate flag issue.
Well, I'm hearing here that she's being floated as a potential vice president nominee, and maybe they want to give her some airtime.
I think that's just eminently insane.
Well,
Nikki Haley's not all that. Trust me.
Yeah, she would be.
And she's going to prove it tonight. Actually, you watch and see. It's going to be as dull as Obama's speech.
Well, this is. I want to get this in context. I want to put this in context. I'll let you have the parting shot on this. Okay.
Okay.
I'm looking at this article here. The GOP has picked South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley to deliver this because she's being touted as a possible vice president nominee. And what's the first thing she does when she gets out there? She bashes Donald Trump. Okay, now.
It's like, who are you listening to?
Now, tell me who would select her as a vice presidential nominee? It'd have to be Bush or Kasich.
Your favorite candidate.
It's got to be Bush, Kasich, or Rubio.
None of these people are going to win. Brother. Yeah, you got it, man.
So here's the GOP, once again, not connecting the dots.
Yeah, the GOP establishment, once again, going, we are ignoring what the base is saying. Thank you.
Let's send our establishment choice for vice president for the person that we want for president that has a snowflake's chance in hell of winning, and we'll send her out there and let her bash the guys that are leading the primary.
Yes, absolutely.
And we'll win.
It's ridiculous.
And we'll win. Yeah, we'll win doing this. Anyway, we got to close up for the night. We'll be back tomorrow.
Okay.
Now, Joe, you're off tomorrow, right?
Yes, I have a thing. It says, hi, Joseph. We're excited to have you join us tomorrow in Pensacola, Florida. We want to remind you that the doors open at 5 and the thing starts at 7. And it's going to be held at this place in Pensacola. Hey, arrive early so you can get into the place. We look forward to seeing you in our Sincerely Team Trump. So I'm going to go see Donald Trump tomorrow and see what all this madness is all about.
Okay, and so what we have tomorrow, we have a guest, Jordan Page, who is a recording artist, country recording artist, and activist. We'll have him on tomorrow. And we'll continue our discussion on all the other crap that's going on out here right now. So God bless you guys. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good evening, and just keep the faith. Keep the faith. It ain't over yet, not quite yet, anyway. God bless you all. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks for
for tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all of our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's the conservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best and uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, signing off until next time, right here on the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.